What's up, guys? This is Joe Samo. What you're about to watch is the kind of legal ins and outs, of very details about the purchase agreement for real estate. And you have to know this if you own or want to buy property in California or any other state. You own property, you inherited property, you want to sell property, you want to buy property, anything, you have to understand the real estate purchase agreement. And it's going to be split up into 3 videos, about 15 minutes each. And this is the first one. All right, enjoy it and let me know if you have any questions. Put it in the comments. What's up, guys? Okay, so now this is very important. We're going to go over a California residential purchase agreement. This is extremely important if you're going to buy land, sell land, you want to buy a house, you want to be a real estate agent, anything, any property manager, anything in the real estate world. You have to understand the purchase agreement. And what we're going to do is go over one. And after this video, you will be an expert in reading this particular contract, okay? So, California Residential Purchase Agreement and Joint Escrow Instructions. Now, this is going to be standard in basically every state. It's going to be some sort of version of this. And then what this is here, okay, so the California Association of Realtors. So it's a big association, and every real estate agent is a part of it, at least the legit ones, right? So what they do is, a lot of the transactions are more or less the same. So they make all of these pre-printed forms, and they they charge a special fee for it, and like an annual fee, whatever. You could get more services, less services. They have mediation services that you could pay for, and educational things, and all this other jazz. It's a good association. And anyway, so this is their particular form. And by the way, you cannot use this form unless you have an agreement with them and you pay for their service. Now, I'm just explaining this form. We're not actually buying a piece of property with this form, so it's okay. All right. But if you have a real estate agent, they will use this form, and this is what you kind of fill out. All right. Date prepared, right? And then offer. This is an offer from. So what goes on here is, let's say Joe Samo is purchasing something, right? The real property to be acquired is, 1, 2, 3, I Love Lucy Lane, okay? And whatever, San Diego. And then, I guess San Diego go there, California, 92020, whatever. And then parcel number, if there is one, usually there is, that's like the county records, how they, number, okay, so the purchase price. Now, currently in San Diego, and I think a lot of other places, right? You get a little tiny shack for, let's say, $800,000. Okay. Oh, $800,000 in San Diego will get you like a freaking apartment, like a little tiny studio, maybe. Anyway, whatever. Okay. So 800,000. The purchase price $800,000, and I guess what they do here, Okay. So sometimes, oh man, it's so annoying. They go 8. They write it out, 800,000, and then they put the number here, just so they do it twice. So there's, God forbid, any sort of like typo. Now, close of escrow, you have kind of an estimated date. Usually they'll do this one, or, 50 days after acceptance. So after the buyer and seller accept, okay, so usually what happens is one person drafts this contract. It's called an offer. The seller can then sign it as an acceptance, or they could say, I want to counter with a little extra term. And then ultimately when one of them accepts, then we have an acceptance. And then so here it's like 50 days after they accepted, then we will finalize the deal. Okay, it's really crazy. If I want to buy this condo, right, and I want to pay $800,000, it's not like I buy it, hey, congrats, I bought it today, and I own it. No, there's this like long escrow period, okay? And that we will go over. Or you could set a date, June 23rd, 2023, whatever. All right. Now, buyer and seller referred to as parties. Okay, so brokers are not parties to this agreement. That is important. It's just between the buyer and seller. The brokers are just there for their, putting it all together. All right. So the parties each acknowledge receipt of a disclosure regarding real estate agency. This one is just, so the seller will have her own agent, and the buyer will have his own agent. And, so they acknowledge that they've received those forms. Rarely one agent will represent both the buyer and seller. It's a little bit of a conflict of interest, but it's allowed. You just got to be super careful. Confirmation: the following agency relations are hereby confirmed for this transaction. So listing agent means the agent for the seller. So, Mickey Mouse. I guess nowadays Mickey Mouse is a little controversial, especially in Florida, but we'll just call it Mickey Mouse. So, potentially competing buyers and sellers. The parties each acknowledge receipt of a possible representation of more than one buyer or seller. What that means is, let's say I want to buy a piece of property and I use my agent, right? And then she has another buyer that's also interested in the property. That could be a conflict of interest, right? Like, who does she help out, me or the other buyer, right? So we're just acknowledging, if that's the case, that agent does have multiple buyers. And then the seller could have a lot of selling clients, meaning the seller's agent has this property that they're listing and then another one across the street. So that could be a conflict of interest also. Like, maybe she wants to sell the other one, she'll get more than this one. So she's disclosing to the seller that there's competing sellers. Okay, now financing terms, because we're dealing with a lot of money, $800,000. It's not like I have that in my back pocket, right? It's not like I'm going to say, okay, I'll buy it for $800,000 and here we go, 10, 20, 30, all the way to 800,000, right? Oh man, imagine if I did that right now, you guys would kill me. Anyway, so you have to disclose how you're going to get it. So the deposit, maybe, in this fictional world, I have $100,000. So I have that much money that I will put, they call it the down payment. All right, so I put $100,000 down. And then ordinarily it's, whatever, I wire it into the escrow. Okay. I don't know why the font is off in my little thing, but that says wire. All right, fine. Or cashier's check. Okay, so I'll put a cashier's check. Or I could wire the money. All right, within 3 business days after acceptance, or if they want to have like maybe 10 days after acceptance or whatever. Okay, then the deposit shall be held uncashed until acceptance and then deposited with the escrow holder. So sometimes you'll give them the down payment, maybe, or and it'll be written out to escrow. And then when you actually have an accepted agreement, then they'll deposit that money with the escrow. Okay. Increased deposit, buyer shall deposit with escrow an increased deposit amount of blah, blah, blah within after acceptance. So sometimes, what they'll want, maybe if I'm the buyer and I'm not sure, maybe I'll cancel this deal. Like maybe I only want to put $20,000 down. And then after another 15 days, then I'll put in another 80. Right? That kind of like, in case something goes awry, I'm only $20,000 in the hole, right? Maybe, so after 10 days, I'll put in another 800,000. Okay. All cash offer, what this means is, we don't need all this stuff, because an all cash offer means the person buying it has got the money. And then when they say cash, they don't mean $10, $20, $30. They mean, you have it all in your bank account and you could just wire the whole thing. As opposed to having to get a loan from the bank. Okay, so that is what an all cash offer. Sellers dig all cash offers. Why? Because sellers are all gold diggers. No, no, sellers, because if somebody's buying a house and then they need a loan, so it's like contingent upon them being approved from a loan from a bank, right? It's sometimes they don't get approved. So if it's an all cash offer, that means they don't have to. That's one less thing that could interrupt this whole transaction. Now, if it is not an all cash deal, so here the buyer is going to need a loan. A first loan means like the big loan, like it's going to have the first collateral on the house. So in my example, what I had said was I'm going to put $100,000 down. All right, so let's say I put all $100,000 here. So I put $100,000 down, and then I'm going to need another loan, right? So I might need, I'll need another $700,000 in a loan. Okay, so that's the first loan. And then the way I'm going to try it, there's all these like different ways, different types of mortgages, the VA loan for the military folks, the FHA, like first time house buyer, that type of thing. Okay. And then they kind of put here, it's like not to exceed 7% or 5%, whatever. So they're just basically saying, we're going to try to get a loan for this amount. Okay. A pre-qualification letter means that they said, oh, I already went to a mortgage bank or mortgage broker or a bank, and I know that I can qualify for a $800,000 loan or whatever. That way that buyer looks a little bit more solid. Additional financing terms, sometimes they'll need another loan, or they'll borrow some from the bank, some from their mom, or whatever. Okay. Balance of down payment. So as long as these numbers add up, so 100,000, 700,000, that adds up to 800,000. Sometimes it could be maybe $100,000 the down payment, maybe 650 from the bank, and maybe another $50,000 will be like a credit from the seller, or they'll come up with whatever, some like a second or third down payment later. All right. As long as it all eventually, when it's all said and agreed to, the buyer initials every page, the seller initials every page. All right. That's just the property address will be like 123 Lucy Lane, whatever. Okay. It's just gonna be there every page. All right, good stuff, friends. Click this video right here, this one here, or is it here? One of the others, right? Click it and, go to the second video so you could watch more and get this contract underway.